Folks, hello and welcome to Dungeons, Dragons, and Discourse. Yes, I know. Was it Mr. Gillespie who had the Dungeons and Discourse blog years ago as he was first doing Barrowmage? Yes, I know we
I
stole it.
guess so.
We
did?
stole it. We're very proud that we stole it. Go pound Canadian sand, you lover of Dallas Cowboys. Um, I don't know. I can't say I'm into
I,
it because I've
I'm
only met
I'm I'm
said,
I'm flabbergasted that Canadian likes Dallas.
oh yeah, he's a Dallas fan. So this is my we're not sponsored, folks, by the way, but this apparently was I'm up in the Poconos. This was at the local supermarket, and I was like, oh, look at that, 64 calories. It's a extra light beer, and it's not extra taste. It's just extra light, half the alcohol.
Well, hang on to the bottle or it will float to the ceiling.
You know what? I wouldn't be surprised. I would not be surprised.
How light can a beer get?
Apparently, pretty light in this case. 2.6% alcohol. It's
Wow.
pretty. Yes. Doc, welcome. And
Hiya,
yes,
Doc.
yes, Mike.
Bad Mike.
Extra light, because watch those calories. I could drink a whole 6-pack and not even hit 40 calories. Holy
I don't have anything to snack on tonight. I finished all my Heath bars.
Yes, Paul, it's definitely a Friday. Mike's
Oh.
I don't even know what
Did you
Texas
see
goat
something?
ropers are. I'm not gonna touch that one.
I don't want to know.
The stuff Eric was peeing a couple of years ago had more of a kick than what Eric is making now. So you know what? I was gonna argue that point, but nowadays, if I have a regular strength beer, it's because I am mixing it with 2 or 3 servings of light beer to make a flavorful light beer. So,
Oh Lord.
I know,
Well,
it's sad.
Hey, on the 50th birthday, I was drinking Seagram's Ice. I got drunk on that.
Okay, well, at least it wasn't Zima.
I used to drink Zima. I am such a lightweight. It's not even fun.
I used
It's
to
not even
drink
funny.
I swear to God, I thought Zima was the shit until it really was the shit, and then that was like, extra light beer is a tool of Satan. No.
Well,
This is what the angels drink, so they don't get. It's beer, smurfing beer.
I had a Champions GM who used to drink Night Train at the table over ice.
I used to drink
Thunderbird.
I used to drink. I think they called it Mississippi Mud, and it came in like a fake earthen jug, and I drank it because it was the earthen jug, and it made my friends like at the table when we gamed go, "What the fuck?" So yeah, we've done that. Folks. We will likely have a guest at some point.
Well, I'll likely tell you what he just texted me. Tied up. I will jump in as soon as my issue is resolved. I said, okay. So we will have Mr. Jason Saturno here, hopefully.
Yes. James, if you don't know what Zima is, I can't explain it to you. You had to. Angels would drink single malt scotch. Well, the angels actually probably do, right? Isn't that the angels share? The evaporation from the barrels. I know a little bit about my whiskey. Not a lot. Yes, Mississippi Mud. That is a blast from the past. That's where you show your age. Okay, that's where I come out and say, yes, I am mother effing 55 years old, and I drank Mississippi mud. Mug? well, kind of. I wish I had kept one of those. They really were kind of cool. The serving, but it came in. Who is the mystery guest? Jason Saturno. Mike, you met Jason Saturno at North Texas. He was one of Glen's roommates. He is also Glen's Long Island DM. So
he was also trying to get Eric to be one of his players. Just throw that out there.
I know.
Just throw that out there.
Is extremely. I have more time during the week than I do on the weekends. Yes, you had to have lived through Zima to understand it. That is right, Don. Zima was it was a malt beverage, Rich. That is correct. But you know what? It was almost like having a 7-Up that was alcoholic. Almost. It didn't taste as good as 7-Up. But the more you drank, the better it tasted. So I guess. Yeah.
Oh, Joe, that's a hard find. That used to be my go-to back in the day. Yeah, gaming back in the day. You can't find it anymore, hardly ever. I think you have to order online, don't you?
Yeah, probably. Joe Cola, twice the caffeine. I drank. See, I had a theory when I was doing papers in college, and it really depended on how wired I was. If I was already wired, it was a 6-pack of Corona. 6-pack of Corona as I'm doing my paper, loosened me up, and most of those papers were A's and B's. But if I was, I'm no seriously, if I was intox, man, they were great. But if I was falling asleep, I needed the Joe Cola. Joe Cola did not give me good papers. They gave me passable papers. You know, you get the C+, the C-, but at least I made it through the night with those. So yes.
I got to go back to drinking when I'm at North Texas to game, because I seem to remember the drunker I got, the better my dice rolls were.
Well, at least they looked better. Boone.
I have witnesses.
Yeah, Sean. Zima brings back memories. Not good memories, but memories nonetheless. I actually, well, yeah.
Doc drank Boone's Farm. My drink was Myers Dark and Coke.
Okay, my hard liquor choice was peach schnapps and orange juice, because I liked Fuzzy Navels. Fuzzy Navels did not like me because I could literally pound that down. Didn't feel like you were drinking alcohol until you couldn't walk. So
I can go through a half a bottle of Myers in an evening, 2/3 of a bottle of Myers. And one night, what stopped me from drinking for the rest of the night was somebody gave me a slug of Southern Comfort.
Oh, okay.
It burned so bad, I stopped.
See, stuff like that. I need over ice. Over ice, Tully over ice. Awesome. Southern Comfort over ice. Fine, but I don't like it room temp. I need it cold. And by the way, James, I also like my wine. I love my red wines. You know, and my red wines like my blood sugar, so it all balances out, you know. But that's why I drink the light beers. It's less about the calories; it's more about the carbs. And my other choice in the refrigerator is Michelob Ultra Organic, which actually tastes better than regular Mick Ultra with less.
Right now, mine is Fireball whiskey and Crown Royal.
Well, but you gotta have the Crown Royal bags. You gotta have the Crown. You're not the Crown Royal bags. You're not doing nobody any good.
That's the official. That's the official dice bag of the OSR, Crown Royal. Yes.
Zima hangovers were awful. I've heard. Actually, Zima hangovers were awful because you didn't feel like you were drinking that much when you were drinking Zimas. Listen, I drink beer, and even when I was drinking really good beers, around 4.5, 5 beers, even if they're all cold, they stop tasting good. They start tasting like they almost start tasting like pure hops and malt without any of the other flavors to it. You kind of go, ugh. Zima just started to taste better the more you drank. That was dangerous.
The reason I started drinking Seagram's Ice is because it tastes like lemonade to me. Any drink that tastes like lemonade, I like, whether it's alcoholic or not. I used to drink Long Island iced teas all the time because they tasted like lemonade to me. What dice company is your favorite? Versace Dice really the best? It could be. I go for what's that other company? Game Science.
Yeah, I don't know. I know whichever
I
one.
buy a pound of dice and dump it in my big dice bag, and
I have bought a pound of dice twice, and I can no longer buy pounds of dice. Not because it's not a good value, and not because I can't afford a pound of dice. It's I can't put a pound of dice anywhere else because I've got dice everywhere. I still have dice from the what was it? Was it last year or 2 years ago when Dollar Tree had their dollar dice? I bought a whole case.
was it 2 weeks ago? I showed this on Facebook. I had a picture. There was a racks of the now $1.25 dice at Dollar Tree, and it's like it only took Oklahoma a year to get with the program on this.
There you go. They're not bad dice. I would have killed for those dice when I was younger, man.
As a matter of fact, where is it? Where are they?
Bad Mike did tequila shots. Never once had a hangover. I used to have some weird resistance to tequila. I've told my tequila story. What do you got there? Wait a second.
That's them. That's the Dollar Tree dice.
Yeah.
You know where I got those? Jason brought a set to the con because I couldn't find them anywhere. He says, here's a set.
Well,
so
I have a whole box of them, a whole 24 of those.
Oh, you bought a case?
Yeah, because my local store didn't have it, so I had to like order a case online. So I was like, all right, that's fine. I'll do that. My tequila story is real quick and simple. My friend Lenny was going into the Air Force at the age of 18. He was a few years younger than the rest of us. We threw him a party, and I was drinking tequila from the bottle. This is tequila that had the worm in the bottom of the bottle. I don't think they do that anymore, but back then you had the worm in the bottom of the bottle.
Oh yeah.
It was the middle of winter in New York, in the outer borough of Queens. And
still do that with Cuervo?
I don't know, Rich. I don't know if they do. So we decided that we're going to walk everybody home. Why? In the middle of winter. And it's snow on the ground. So I do remember climbing on the hood of a car adjacent to a mailbox and peeing on the mailbox. I remember doing that. Now, mind you, I was like 20. So that's my excuse. And then we're in Jackson Heights, Queens, and at the subway station, above from the subway station, at like 2:30 in the morning, in the middle of winter, on a weekend, there's a guy selling hot dogs. And at New York City, stereotypical hot dog cart. And I don't recall this, but I was told that I started screaming, I want my crack dogs. I want my fucking crack. Sell me my fucking crack, mother effer. And I was led away by my friends because they were afraid I was going to get killed. I have never had tequila since then. I've heard good things about it. I was those are memories that are best left as memories, and I don't want to repeat them. So yeah, James.
I think the worst I did
in the wine. Yes, you're probably right. But I also drink low carb wine, by the way. When it's
I think the worst I did when I was drunk is me and a bunch of people after a show in theater in San Jose went into a guy's hot tub at night, and I was drinking, so I had to pee a lot. And I got up like 2-3 times to get out of the hot tub. And so finally somebody said, you're supposed to put the towel around your waist. Because it's like 10 o'clock, 11 o'clock. I've got it slung over my shoulder, walking back and forth to the John, singing Gilbert and Sullivan.
Don't look at my ass crack.
The neighbors got serious. I'm the monarch of the sea, the ruler of the Queen's name. It's like,
I was like, I've got a proud sailor in my.
speaking,
Oh.
yeah, that's the worst. I think that's the worst I've done when I was drunk. Yet, like I said, I roll the dice. They get better the drunker I get. Yeah.
Oh, that's okay. My recent dice pickups are the rechargeable dice, the ones that you shake and they.
Oh
they,
yeah, I saw those.
they
Hey, let me show you these. My friend, full-on gamer over at Thenko's Hammer, gave me a whole bunch of these Cthulhu Dice that he got on a Kickstarter, and I'm not the only one who got them. These little babies right here.
Oh shit!
See?
Are they readable?
Yeah. Oh yes.
Usually those specialty dice, I can't read. They look beautiful if you don't use them.
Black and red. These are black and red. It's like I got 4 sets here. Plus, I have 2 tubes of just D6s for these.
Oh, that's cool.
And full on gamer, I've come to the conclusion is insane.
And that took you.
What?
That took you how long to figure that out?
After the anime really started coming in my mail, I have a box right now, and he does if he likes you and he's on the show with you, he tries to turn everybody onto anime. So I've got a box over here with like $3,000 worth of Blu-rays of anime.
Damn.
I mean, it's like $2,800, $3,000. I've been keeping track because I've been looking up the prices on Amazon.
Right.
And I made a spreadsheet and everything. And it's like tons and tons and really nice sets too. Some steel books. It's got that anime Gate. Got the full deluxe box set that looks like a Foot Locker. It's insane. Here's another set of dice that he sent me. Yeah, see, they're readable.
Okay. Yes. By the way,
and they all come in a little box like this. See?
Bad Mike says that you are a confident man.
I am a confident man in certain things.
And
I
James
am that too.
Says you're the very model of a modern major general.
Damn right. But I thank him. I just keep the box. Eventually, someday I'll get through them. So, hello, Mr. Woodard.
I got to get to that. Now, for convention play, I buy those big dice, like those larger than standard dice, because I'm always walking around the table as a GM. The dice need to be big so I can roll them on the table and read them wherever they land. So I always go for the big dice for that.
I'm not going to dig it out over here. It's down buried in a box, but most of my dice are in, remember those candy jars where they were glass, they were on their side and you pull out.
Yeah, I got one of those.
Yeah, I have a plastic one of those about half full of dice. So, yeah, it's mostly like, it's mostly the pounded dice. And, I like pounded. I'm not one to, these are my special sets of dice that I only pull out, I don't get all that.
One. My original set of dice my mother bought me when she bought me my player's handbook and my DMG. Those dice are special. Those dice no longer go to conventions.
Yeah, I have special dice. I showed you some of them.
No, but
I showed you some of them, but
yeah,
they don't get used. They just sit there. Oh, those are nice. I'm collecting them. Okay, fine. But I like one guy in Matt's game. He went to North Texas a couple of times in the early 10s, and he bought some of those laser cut wooden dice. You seen those in the sets? those real expensive ones, and he always brings like 2 sets with him, and it's like, okay, hey, roll a d6. Okay, he brings the die out, he rolls it, tells him what it is, picks up the die, puts it back in the set, closes the box. And it's like, I sit next to him at the game. It's like,
You're driving me nuts with your obsessions,
yes, yes, because he's so proud of those dice. But
Well,
I kid him.
now, like I've seen Bill Webb, and at gaming conventions when he runs games, and he usually just uses a D6 and a D20, and they're both about the size of your fist or larger, but they're phone dice. So he
Oh
could
yeah, I've seen those.
throw them at you. It wouldn't hurt you. Might knock your soda off. James, we're all
Yeah,
hated by spell correct. Don't feel bad.
I don't, I
I've
don't,
never
I
fired
don't, I
dice that
don't.
misbehaved.
No, I just put it aside and grab another one. I got so many dice, you know.
Yeah,
Keep going.
I don't fire them. Those laser cut wood dice are not good. They wear down fast. Anything, especially like the wood stuff. I have. Oh my god, I have a set of, I guess, fudge dice that
Oh yeah, I've got a set of those.
were made with biblical wood. I forget the name of the wood. Pretty cool. I wanted.
Beaverwood,
No,
Beaverwood.
no, no. It was wood. It's wood that you get only out in Palestine, from a tree out there, and I remember I was bidding at my first North Texas. I was trying to win really cool set of wooden Coca-Cola wood dice. And why did I want? Why did they want it? Why is Coca-Cola wood special? The old nightsticks from the 50s and the 60s and earlier were made from Coca-Cola wood because it made a loud noise when you pounded it on the sidewalk. That's how cops, before they had radios, you would pound
Bang,
your
bang,
night.
bang, bang, bang.
Right, and that's how you,
On, on the
alert the
curb.
neighborhood that you needed help. Also, it had a good sound, I guess, when it bounced off heads. So I was like, I'm just incidentally, this is not the reason why they were issued. I'm just saying it's a side effect in the eyes of some. So I'm bidding against this child. It's a 12-year-old child, and this kid has deep pockets. It's like going over 100.
I thought they
And
all did that.
oh, well,
This
this
is
is
not the
going back.
midnight auction, right? This is the
No,
regular. This is the regular
this is
auction.
the auction, but this is at the old location. It was a small location, and Frank Messner was running it. And then Frank mentions, "Oh, look at this! Eric Tenkar is in a bidding war with Bill Webb's son." I went, "Oh,
Of course, he has deep pockets.
yeah." So it's like, yeah, I'm not going to win those dice. I was like, I gotta. I was like, it's going to be cost prohibitive, and in the end, Bill's kid's going to win them no matter what. So
Oh yeah,
I had to fold my hand on that.
a 3-1
Catching up
count card.
there.
I believe it, Doc.
Oh yeah, I actually
Half
have.
of a cheese ball.
See now, what
Wow,
I suspect I have something that most of you all don't have. I actually have a chainmail dice bag. It was custom made.
I've seen those.
I had it custom made. I was able to choose 3 colors. So I wanted uh, gold and silver, and mostly uh, a metallic blue. And
Silver and gold, silver.
silver and gold. Well, I wanted the colors of the NYPD patch, basically.
Ah,
So I love it. It isn't very feasible to bring with you and stuff, but you know, it's still nice. It's still something because I don't have it too often. Yes, jumbo dice. Yeah, they're easy to see at the table. And if you're a DM, again, when I DM, my seat's always given up to an extra player. All right. A Charcon, it usually means I let 8 players register, and then Rach gets the 9th seat. And I walk the table, and my dice will go all over the place. If my dice are bigger, also I can find them when everybody else is trying to like shuffle their dice out of the way.
I cannot GM standing up for very long. One, my legs get tired, my knees start hurting. And secondly, I'm clumsy. I tend to trip over people's chairs and stuff. I did that one time. I'm almost landed flat on my face.
You're a fucking hill giant, man. Come on, of course you should be sitting. You sitting is about the height of me standing. Okay, the view that I get and the view that you get to project over the table. Especially at a convention like Shark.
This is why I don't worry. This is why I don't worry about GM screens. I can always see you over the GM screen.
Yeah, but I mean that's why like ShireCon. I love ShireCon, but it's a noisy environment, and the best way for me to compensate for that is to stand and walk around my table. I always want a table if I can on the periphery, so I have a little extra space to move the table and move around my players. You know, it's just now if I'm DMing for my local group, I'll sit because I'm not dealing with all that extra background noise. And
he gives out dice for Christmas, which is a great idea. I've given my grandson dice for Christmas and his birthday, and he's loved every set I gave him.
Oh yeah, who doesn't like dice? I gave my niece glow in the dark dice. I think she just has fun having them glow in the dark. So.
Oh well, sure.
More. Okay, now listen. We were not allowed to carry 8D mag lights. We were not allowed to carry more than 2D battery mag lights. That was honest to God, that was a restriction. It was 2D or 4C. That was a restriction. But I'll be honest with you, my experience in like the late 90s when I was on patrol in a patrol car, and you're hopping out of a patrol vehicle. What are you going to grab first, your nightstick or your flashlight? You're going to grab your flashlight first. Your flashlight has multi-purposes. A nightstick only has one purpose. So I'd always take the flashlight. But you're not going to remember to grab both. It's just to...
Oh yeah, it's got weight to it.
All right. The man you've been waiting for. Dun, dun,
Sporin?
dun.
What's Sporin?
The man you've been waiting for.
Oh, there he is. There he is.
You're gonna give a proper introduction there, Glen? Before I let him in?
He's been running games for 10 years. He's in New York. It's Jason Saturno.
Yes, and I am glad to say that.
And you're on a phone.
What?
And you're on a phone.
I'm on my phone. Yes.
That's a good quality camera.
Yeah, that's my iPhone.
That's a better camera than mine. Oh,
see, the problem is I have a Mac Mini, but I have a monitor with no camera, so that doesn't really do the job. So here I'm much better with my iPhone.
Fair enough. Listen, I'm a Mac guy too. Once I got my first Mac Mini, and I realized I didn't have to wait 3 minutes to boot up just to surf the internet. I was like, I started out with my PC and a Mac Mini with a split, so I could use the same screen for the two things, and I have to remember which one.
Right.
And then I was finally like, I got to get my PC's dying, and I was like, I'm no longer playing MMOs, so do I really need a PC that can do gaming, or do I just get an all-in-one iMac? I was like, I'm getting an all-in-one iMac.
I also had an iMac previously.
Guys, okay, we got to start this right because we're already getting somebody who's saying, "Who is this guy? And why do we care?" Thanks, James.
Who's saying that? Oh, James. So James always says shit like that.
Oh well, Mr. Jason Saturno, give us your credits.
My credits. Hold on one second.
Oh, okay.
Just 1 second.
Boy, I've heard of new. Oh, okay.
All right. So, my credits. So I've been playing since early '80s. with my friends
What?
and neighbors.
How long you been DMing?
I've been DMing since the early '80s.
Oh, okay.
And I mostly DM as opposed to playing. In fact, when I go to North Texas, RPG Con is the only time I actually usually get a chance to play.
Mm-hmm.
Really? Interesting.
Yes, really. Yes.
Interesting.
Yes. We're still
now,
waiting for Glen to run me in a game online.
I'll run you,
Eric.
all right.
Or Eric.
I could do that. But now, you don't use VTTs, though, do you?
VTT is a
No.
video.
Virtual tabletop. Roll20 or anything like that.
I've seen Roll20. My players, we usually use Discord for verbal communications and audio communications.
Whenever I play with my regular group, it's Discord for audio and sometimes video. Usually for at least one person, video sucks.
I'm the only one you have to video in, aren't I?
You and our other player Henry. Yes, those are the two.
Okay, I listen to him on Discord, and then I get a nice shot of Jason's ceiling and a couple people around.
So sometimes the phone flips the wrong direction, unfortunately. Yeah.
Yeah, and that's what happened, folks. I brought Jason on because I wanted somebody who was just your regular average GM who's been doing it like a long time.
He's not a see now. That's a bad setup there. You're saying he's a regular average GM who's been GMing since the '80s. If you're GMing since the '80s, you're not the average GM. I mean, let's put it to you that way because the longer you do it, the more skills you pick up. Even if
that's right.
True.
That's right. That's right. And there are tendencies of my players.
Oh yeah, Doc.
Bear 1 second.
Yep.
Sure. So what's your tendencies to your player?
So bear with me.
We are.
So my players have certain tendencies that I always am focused on when we're playing. I happen to know one of my players typically, normally, is going to play a cleric. That's typically Mark. I know sometimes that I'm going to have somebody of a magic user illusionist slant sometimes to some degree, or perhaps a ranger, and that's typically Glen. And then I have Peter, typically either a magic user in this instance, or in other cases, he's been previously, I believe, fighters, but mostly now he's a magic user or illusionist normally. And then we have a multitude of players. It's a weird group actually because we got how many magic? We actually almost has 3 magic users in the group, which is quite heavy when you think about it. But you, Glen, are a multi-class, so I mean that it's a little different.
Yeah, I'm a fighter magic user elf, but we're talking now just
how tall are you?
6'6".
Yes, he's a very cool elf.
Yes, I just wanted to tell the folks at home that we're talking AD&D First Edition. Right?
Yes, I'm sorry I didn't mention that.
No, that's all right.
So those are my original books that I've had since the 80s, and I continue to use them, and I continue to learn from them. It just never ceases to amaze me that I am learning all the way every day. If it's whether how do you break out certain things, like with a mirroring image, and it's just kind of incredible. Where I find you never know everything. You always can figure out something new and approach it from a different angle too. I think that's what brings the joy of playing all the time and running games all the time.
He also runs a Gamma World game.
Yes, first edition.
You've been running that for quite a while too. Not this one, but I mean okay. And I'm still trying to switch him over to Mutant Future. Did I ever give you the PDF?
Yes, you did. And
No.
I also played it at North Texas and enjoyed it. So,
Good.
I'm very open to it. The mechanisms are way different, but I'm happy to use them once I get accustomed to them. A lot of people say certain systems or this or that. I'll play any system. It's just knowing what to do is half the battle when it comes to a new system. But I'm open-minded.
If you're going to run it, I mean, that's the whole thing too, right?
Yes.
I mean, I played at ChatterCon. I played in my first 5e game.
You did? See? Now that's a challenge to me.
It was a challenge for me. It was a challenge looking at, excuse my language, 8 fucking sheets printed out for a 5th level character to explain my abilities. And it was the Peanuts meet the Great Cthulhu. So I was Snoopy. And that's fucking Snoopy, a monk at 5th level. There were 8 pages to describe my abilities. So I never actually understood them all. The DM was good. The DM he knew the rules, he was fluent with the rules, kept it moving. Now I could never run 5e.
Well, that's the thing.
I could run give me the rule books. I'm up and running. I could run Swords and Wizardry. That's what would we like without even looking at the rules. I can run.
Right.
2e, fine. Back in the day, I could probably run Rollmaster and Space Master and a few others, but I've lost that ability. But I can still come to my comfort zone, old school gaming, and run most of those without referring to the rules. That, I think, is the secret to being a good GM, is the pacing. And if you don't know the rules, if you're going to have to stop and look something up every 10 minutes at the table, then you've already lost the pacing and you're going to lose your players.
Agreed. And in fact, though, again, now I'm telling you I've been playing this forever, right? But I am not ashamed of playing or pulling out the player's handbook and having my players pull it out at the same time, and we walk through the mechanics of a spell. I have no problem doing that because I may not know exactly at the tip of my tongue exactly the mechanics on a mirroring spell, and then let's walk through it, and then I'll explain how I perceive it as to how it should be encountered in the game. Because not every spell do I have mentally prepared and ready to go that every character has on their hand.
Well, especially when you're running something like AD&D 1E, which we house ruled. We didn't call it house rolling, right? It was just understood that we're not using weapon speed.
Right.
Because nobody understood weapon speed. And
weapon speed is a massive problem. I mean, I'll be honest, though. I'm very focused, and I think Glen to some degree is too, as a GM, that I am very determinate on weapon size and location. You're in a 10 by 10 hallway. There are certain things you can and can't use weapon-wise when you're in that location. Now, if you're in a room, different story. But everything's different depending upon what you're doing.
And that makes a lot of sense. But it's like when you look at, I don't know, the rewrites of, like, if you look at Osric took the shit that people house ruled and said, but we'll leave that aside. We don't worry about weapon speed. We're not going to worry about really spell interruption, because that became a whole. I understand, coming from wargaming, it was important to do shit like that. But when it became role playing face first, front, and wargaming in the back, rules like that. I didn't come from a wargaming background.
I didn't come from wargaming either. I always wanted to. It was always baffling to me, being not explained by anybody that understood it already. You needed to be trained at first in most of these games. Once you get accustomed to it and learn the basics, then you're off on your own. But I started with role playing from day one. And I have a good friend, Herb, who introduced me and my buddy Mark and Rob to the game. And that is where we started off at. And he was typically the original DM that we were working with. And, I mean, those are the things you remember the most when you first start. Your encounters at first level in a basic dungeon where you're running into goblins and orcs, where you're running into gelatinous cubes. These are the tricks and the items that you remember, and the traps that you hit. And these, and it's another thing, because Glen in his podcast a lot of times mentions about some DMs that are perhaps looking to kill players or looking to do
Right.
certain things. My theory is very
Adversarial GMs.
yes, my theory is different. I present them with a situation. What happens in that situation is totally dependent upon them, as
Yep,
well as
that's the way it should be. That's
as
the way it
well
should.
as whatever you
Yeah.
do can also bring along wandering monsters as well at the same time, because you're making a lot of noise when you're doing things.
right.
Favorite level of party to run? I don't know. I've never run anything over third level. No, that's not true. In other people, if I'm playing, I mean, my character's up to 9th level now in my Monday game.
Oh,
So, but as far as running it, I think I've got Hyperborea. When I stopped, everybody was 10th level.
wow.
And it worked. Well, see, that game's a 12 level cap, though.
See,
Right.
So
I'm going to argue to you. It's easier for me to enjoy, run, and/or play at the lower levels. I think as you get to the higher levels, it's more of a challenge to keep a fluent game structure, a fluent situation, and/or fluent challenges. It's harder. It's just harder at the higher.
Definitely. I mean, it's the reason why when James Spot and I sat down to work on Swords and Ways Recontinua Light, which was just taking those 4 pages of light that covered levels 1 to 3,
right,
and expanding it to what we thought could be the sweet point. And we initially had said, well, we'll max at level 6. And then Bill Webb, who was we had to get kind of the okay for the project, even though I was going to be self-publishing it. Bill Webb was like, you got to go to 7. I was like, why 7? He goes, you need 4th level spells. And in a way, for the classic games, the D&D and AD&D games and their clones, he's got a point there, because 9th level, 5th level spells are where they start to break the game. 3rd level spells are powerful. 4th level spells are still powerful, but 5th level, you get to raise the dead. You get
the sweet spot.
You get stuff that really, as a GM, becomes harder to manage because it's swingy now, right?
right.
Up until a certain level, you can, your players, your group, you kind of know where they're going to do and how they're going to act. And even with the worst luck of the dice, you're not going to have probably a TPK or, all right, they're going to need to be really lucky or retreat here. But but once you hit that certain level, the way these spells stack on each other that people didn't think that they would, it really it can cause a problem. So we started on level 7, and that meant that you got 1 4th level spell, and that was enough.
Make it
right?
good.
Make it good, but also meant that the GM, all right, I know they've got 1 4th level spell that they can pull out during the game session, and I know what they have. So you're not going to be, even if and I'm not saying that you play against the players, but at least as a GM, your mind is already, all right, I know what to expect if this comes up, as opposed to, holy shit, they've got 3 7th level spells, 4 6th level spells. You wind up throwing meat grinders at your characters at a certain level, which I don't think is fun anymore.
No, and I will say that. Go ahead.
What?
Go ahead.
No, it just changes the subject. Go ahead.
Well,
what
I was
will you
say that I have a tendency, typically, I hear over and over again counting hit die on monsters and what we're throwing at. I think, what is a challenging item, typically harder than what they're used to normally encountering at that level, and see what happens. And normally, I don't know what the outcome's going to be. And in some cases, there are going to be items that are way beyond their capabilities. And in those cases, I'm assuming they're intelligent enough, like Laura's going to say something to somebody, or Henry's going to mention something to somebody. Guys, this is too tough of a challenge. Let's get the hell out of here. And that's half the thought process. The players need to understand they're not, capable of winning against everything, and that sometimes the better idea is to cut and run.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Don was saying
you're with them.
Go ahead. Let's see. Don was saying level
4. No, you're with them.
I'm thinking 3 to 7 for me. because you get second level spells, your spellcasters start getting a little bit more flexibility.
Right.
But again, you don't, you know, back in the day, we had characters reach 18th level because, again,
You could
one level per session, one level per, yeah. Who's counting XP? Yeah, you got 500,000. Don't worry about it.
You know what?
Notice.
I literally do XP on a convenient basis. Whenever I see they've accumulated a certain amount of money, currency, gold, silver, platinum, and achieve certain things. All right, everybody sit down. Let's crunch some numbers. Let's see where you guys are. And I put you there. That's what I believe. I believe as you earn it, you get it. We don't need to be in a specific location or something like that. I reward my players as they go. Occasionally. It's not going to be every game,
Right.
not every session. Whenever it happens, it happens. And this is going to now be called Tenkar's Confession Session. Because I have to confess, I've stolen, I've robbed, and robbed Glen blind, because in my current game, we have an owl bear following along with the party who escaped the circus. And we all know that's a Glen story that I stole.
But that's
and I'm still playing with him, and we're still friends. How about that?
Yeah,
they keep hiding him. They keep hiding him in the back of a tavern, and I keep giving them a back door to come and go from. And worried about the circus coming into town again.
But that makes it fun, right?
It does.
I mean, listen, James has a good question. Do you run the same setting each time you run or all your campaigns in the same setting, or when you start a new campaign, is it a new setting?
All right. So how I do that, I create everything on my own. I create a multitude of towns, cities, hamlets, and then I love foreshadowing and returning to previous items. For instance, last week, Glenn, you weren't there. They ran into a gang with tattoos with the red hand on it. And they encountered them way back in the day, and they're remembering that again. And I just have a tendency.
Nothing wrong with that. I mean, that's a standard SOP for a lot of people. There's nothing wrong with that.
And I'll give them, here you go. You can earn a certain amount of money and capabilities by doing business for this specific demon. Oh, I always seem to get demons involved.
Yeah, that's weird.
In the middle of it, they'll talk to the other demon that they're supposed to go kill and double cross the first demon. And I love.
Hey, I had nothing to do with that. I had nothing to do with that.
Yes,
it was the rest of the party.
We have DDs kicking in at that time, and it's all quite interesting. And all at the same time, they're trying to build a golem for themselves.
Oh, boy. Mr. Gunn, have you guys checked out Easy D6? I did a review on YouTube for that game. Yes, I have. It's very nice. Although this is my darling right now. Master Edition Index Card RPG.
Ooh. I still gotta read my copy. Damn it!
I even got the Essentials deck and the Think deck to help you make adventures. Now,
yeah,
something you reminded me of something. Last Thursday, we didn't really do any role playing over at Matt's, but he said I always wanted to run. He wanted to run Tomb of Horror.
Yeah,
and unfortunately, I said, I'm going to regret saying this, but he says, yeah, well, Glenn, I'd like to run it for Glenn and you guys, especially Glenn, because he's an old fart or whatever. And it's like, I'm going to regret saying this, but I've never played Tomb of Horrors.
Really?
Oh, and he said, but I said, I have a copy of it in that one of that mega module where they put all of them, like Barrier Peaks and all this other stuff's in it. And he said, but have you read it? And I said, I think I read the first 2 pages. Good, we're gonna play it. Oh well, I'm not. Tomb of Horror, whoopee. It's like, all right, fine. It's a meat grinder. I believe you. Okay, that doesn't mean I need to add to the meat grinder.
But personally, if you're gonna do a Tomb of Horrors, do that. That actually, I don't want to say Tomb of Horrors is not beatable in my opinion. Okay.
Oh, okay.
I used it to redeem my Monty Hall DMing and remove artifacts from my players. Well,
Good idea.
when you put your head into that into that opening, you lost your crown of might. What do you mean I lost my crown of might? Well, either that, or you lost your head. What do you prefer? You can't destroy an artifact like that. I go, it's not destroyed.
You just don't have it.
It's teleported somewhere else. But the grinding gear.
I'd have a player who'd want to stick his hand into there just so he can find the hand of Vecna and put it on.
Yeah. But the grinding gear is a lot like the Tomb of Horrors. It's from James Raggy's Lamentations of the Flame Princess.
Right.
It's got to be about 10 years old. But the grinding gear is a Tomb of Horrors like adventure that smart players can come out ahead. I'm not saying that they're going to not be, utterly fucked with.
Right.
But Tomb of Horrors is literally a competition module that should never have been, in my opinion, never been published for use in home campaigns. It was meant to be at Origins or Gen Con, and it was well, listen, all the original adventures that TSR published, the initial ones were all tournament adventures.
Right.
That's what came with all these.
That's why I have a problem with some
PCs in the back, and that's why a lot of them are really, really deadly, or give away shit that, like, at 4th level should not be in anybody's home campaign.
So
let's
go on further about that, because as we spoke earlier, I had never to this day had been involved in a TPK, either by my game or being a player in a game. So what happens when I go to North Texas this year? I'm in a game, and who's my partner in crime playing with me? Good old Vince, the evil DM.
Oh boy.
And Henry's the DM, and I think there were 8 of us. Total TPK at the end of the game, not due to me, not due to Vince, but to the other players that wouldn't listen to us, that just had to go look for things and look for trouble, and they found it, and we were all killed. I guess I have a pride factor here that I actually finally experienced one, and it wasn't my fault.
Well,
yeah,
I think when it comes to TPKs, I have been in a TPK.
Wait,
in a group that was a
regular group. Is to those that don't know, possibly.
Yeah, the TPK is total party kill. It means that there's no survivors at the end of the session, and certain things can happen in those situations. If it's your home campaign, sometimes your GM will look at you and go, I fucked up. I didn't tell you. I didn't give you the hint I was supposed to give you that would have prevented you from walking into this. And it becomes like a scene, like that whole season of Dallas. It didn't happen. But a TPK at a convention game is a little bit different, because your investment into your character is a lot less.
Yes.
So you're willing to make some sillier or more extreme safety choices. It's like, hey, don't take off your seatbelt. Oh, screw that. The only way I can reach out of this car and grab I'm taking off my seatbelt, and I'm gonna hang from that strap. I'm gonna hang from that strap with my body out the window as I go. You would never do that in real life, okay? Even as a stuntman, but you'll do that in game, especially because it's only one.
It's not.
If my character dies, I got another game session going on in 3 hours. Not a big deal. It's okay. It's not a big deal. Which is why when I run Swords with Relight at conventions, my players create their characters at the table. They're not given pre-gens.
Right.
You have 15 minutes to do that.
Right.
And I tell them, if you survive, bring a character, get back next year, survive that second session, you will be second level.
Okay. See, that's a good challenge. And so here's another thing that I like to do. I like to bring in third-party actors that are not a part of the game as starring NPCs in my game. So I take my original player that I used to play with all the time, Rob. I pull him to the side. I walk him through the storyline. I explain to him that he's a demon and that he's going to have to sell the characters on a mission and or not, and see how they deal with it, and give them a couple of items or objectives, etc., and see how it goes. And it works its way into the game, and it really makes a difference, I think, because it just makes it that much more real when you have third-party interactors. It's not just me.
That's true. That's
Yeah.
true. Every once in a while, that's great.
Yeah,
That'd
occasionally.
be so.
Occasional thing.
Yeah.
Well, I mean,
by the way,
Glenn,
we were talking.
Glenn,
what?
you were a senior NPC in Tune.
Yes,
Remember that?
Senor. Oh, was that with?
You were with
in
Tim Snyder running
Tim Snyder's game.
Yeah,
I didn't really think. I was just there. If you wanted me to play an NPC, I would. I wasn't even part of the game. I was just.
you were, but you did. Awesome.
I was
job.
more like the DM's assistant.
But see, the thing is, by doing that, you add a dimension to the game. Listen,
you're right.
I play with voices. I'm not always consistent with it within the same game session because God knows I improv. I don't know what voice I'm going to use until it comes out of my mouth half the time. But Glen has a whole repertoire of voices, and if you have him and the GM splitting up voice responsibilities, and also that way, too, Glen will have a different take on stuff than the GM will. Not a huge different take, but a different twist because everybody brings their own life experiences into an RPG. I know the argument is you shouldn't, you wouldn't, you don't, you do. You bring it, just like you bring it to work, your own life experience goes to work with you. It goes into the game with you.
Yep.
So use it as a tool.
So
voices and a whole lot more.
And a whole
I like to focus in my games on as much real world realism with respect to what they're going through. So when they're in a tunnel, when they're in a 10 by 10 hallway, I'm assuming there's no light. All right, what are you going to do? How are you going to see where you're going? Okay, you're either doing torches, you either have
lanterns,
type of magical item, but you're screwing up your infravision in the meantime. How are we doing this? What are we doing? That's what I'm saying.
Now, yeah, I understand. That's a good way to do it too. I mean, I don't really think about. There are times when no light becomes inconvenient for the GM as well as the players.
Yeah.
That's what I have. That's what I see stuff like there's sconces on the wall with torches, or there's this glowing moss on the wall, or something like that. Somebody made it so there is light in these corridors for what, and then they got to figure out who did it and why.
Right. And then
which is great.
There are dungeons that are lived in, there are barracks, etc. Different ball game. But the other thing is, I try to approach every door, every entrance with a challenge. And by the way, thieves at lower levels have very hard opportunities opening doors. Actually, they don't do that all the time. No. The percentages are not that high, and so they're looking for traps all the time, or doors, traps, and things. And I'm like, you know what? Go ahead, go try, but you're not going to probably find it.
Or if you do find it, it's not going to be found the way you wanted to find it. Oops.
Yeah. It's the GM rolls behind the curtain and says, "You think you disarmed the trap?"
Yes.
Let me tell you, one time I was in a Labyrinth Lord game online with my friend Crispy and a few other, like Vince and a few other people. He had a sleeping princess in a castle.
Oh.
Or something like that. And I was playing it, and for some reason I ended up playing the princess. Because I did this Monty Python voice, and it went on. They were talking about it for 10 minutes. Oh, I've been asleep here a long time, and I remember the days, and blah, 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 blah. I wait for 10 minutes, and Crispy just lets me. Finally, at the end, he says, Glen Hallstrom, ladies and gentlemen.
Everybody.
But anyway, let's get back to Mr. Seymour. Hey, thanks for coming, Mr. Gunn. What is your best advice for a new returning GM in AD&D? Go ahead. Go ahead, Jason.
Best advice? I'm going to tell you, a lot of times I've noticed I'll prepare a game and I can make multitude of levels, multitude of scenarios all on one day. But I like actually an initial overall concept that the game players start in on day one. But then in my mind, every week I reapproach the situation and then I add scenarios and situations. And I don't consider railroad. I consider what kind of scenarios would I like to see them encounter that would be realistically within the situation they're in, that I'd like to see how they handle. Those are kind of the questions that go in my mind on a weekly basis to see where they're going, what they're doing. And then I always got to rely on my good friend Pete to tell us what happened the last session, because earlier, and we got one guy that's encyclopedic with all the previous action, and then I just say, go ahead, Pete, give us the summary, and we all remember then what the hell we were doing previously 2 weeks ago, and then we're fresh into it again. And after that 10-minute summary, we're back into the game and everybody's excited to go. And it really does help, because I don't know, I guess at our ages, just remembering all the little details from the previous session, it's very hard to do.
Oh, it is. And here's what for that stuff, back when blogging was still a thing, when it wasn't just like now, it's just like me and a handful of others still like have active blogs. But my gaming group, everybody had a blog, inactive or inactive. I said, listen, before next session, give me 3 to 4 paragraphs of what happened. I would get like 5 stories from
all different
people, all talking about what was important to their character.
The Rashomon effect.
And I said, if you do this, I'll give you a 10% experience point bonus on the next session.
That worked,
and it was perfect.
Yeah.
Now, the actual specific advice that I would throw out, that I think, and Jason's advice is good, but you're going to come back to gaming, right? You're and new and returning is different. Returning is like riding a bike. You play a session or two, and you're like, it feels familiar. I'm great. New is something different. New is I'm not going to address new. New needs a lot more than just this.
It's a lot of work behind new.
But if you are a returning GM,
mm-hmm.
my gut tells you that go with your instincts when it comes to, if you think you remember what the rule was, you know what, you're likely going to be right. And tell your players, hey, listen, this is what I'm ruling. Unless somebody has a problem with it. And maybe they'll say, oh, yeah, that's wrong. But most likely they're going to go, yeah, I'm not quite sure either.
So, but
rules, not rules. And then at the end,
you
can always do that recap. Because here's the thing. A lot of times you're going to make a ruling and you find out afterwards you were wrong by the book. But your players might tell you, actually, your rule makes more sense than the book. It's a new house rule.
Yeah, but I am very happy to be corrected by my players. Very happy to whip out a book and say, this is what's in the book. And then I'll think about it. And I'll say, well, I was probably kind of right, but I'm happy to adjust to a balance that's fair in both cases. And, I think I am fair overall in the overall scheme of things. And, it's interesting. But I wanted to go to another thing that I noticed in my player group in both games, Gamma and D&D, AD&D, and that is, these guys seem to think they could talk anybody into anything, and they all got crappy charisma. I don't know what the hell they think they're gonna do. But I'm like, okay, what's your charisma? 11. And I'm like, what do you think's gonna happen?
I understand that.
It's funny.
Or a dump stat?
I think I have. Wait a minute.
What?
I think I want to look.
What
at
is your character? What's the elf?
My character sheet's charisma is 12.
No, it's
which is probably better than most of them.
Yes. You know, everybody takes, because I allow players to manipulate their roles to discourse for their characters that they want to play. I believe in allowing characters the ability, people to play the characters they want. You know, you shouldn't roll a high intelligence and be locked into it if you don't want to be a magic user. I mean, it should be what you want. I want players to enjoy it. And so I allow people to move the numbers around, and I'm happy with that.
Okay, my advice for newer returning GMs: find a premise. It's kind of related to what you were talking about. Find a premise. It seems like a lot of good literature, TV shows, movies, whatever, have a great premise, especially TV shows. And if you have one that's flexible enough and broad enough, you can do anything with them. 2 examples. One, the one I keep talking about, the cattle drive in my world, getting cattle from one place to another. And the PCs are the troubleshooters who go like a week ahead to smooth everything out to make sure the cattle can get through. That gives me a lot of leeway. So does in Gamble World, working for Barter John's Acquisitions Corporated, where we go in and we find artifacts and stuff for him to resell. And that's another one where they can get in a lot of trouble with these premises. Remember, the Sherlock Holmes series of books and short stories. There's a premise there. It usually starts at Baker Street. Somebody comes in, consults them, tells their story. Holmes is going to help, and then they go from there. But it always Doyle had it down, to a science. And also you can vary it every once in a while. Maybe they're out there trying to get the artifacts and they get ambushed and get stuck in a civil war between 2 factions of post-apocalyptic people out there. That may take a long time. So
Glenn, what happened to you?
Yeah.
You told me you were going to be indisposed for a couple of weeks, and so Glen's character had Etten walk into the bar, play him a game of cards, and in the midst of the game of cards, he was playing, and then in a heartbeat, Glen disappears in a bag and disappears right there on the spot, and the Etten takes off out of the tavern, but leaves a business card behind, and there's another mission. Even though they got other things ahead of it. Let's go find Glen.
Oh man, that sounds like a D&D dirty joke. And Etten walks into a bar. Both heads are.
Yes, and it was quite an amusing, because I actually went through the card game with the players, and Pete was playing the card game with the Etten, and all of a sudden you disappear. It sucked for you, but yeah, that's what happens. So Eric, what kind of cop voices do you use? Do you have a prototypical cop voice that you'd like to use?
Prototypical cop voice? No, I mean, I've been playing. I guess true revelation. My mother, as a kid, used to embarrass the shit out of me because she would always do like different voices in public. So she would be like shopping in the jewelry district. She'd put a Yiddish accent and get better deals because she could speak some German too. She would slip into the Irish or amongst the Irish. So in high school, I'd make fun of other students' ways of talking. I went to New York City Public High School. We were in Elmhurst. It was like the melting pot of the world. So many different languages spoken. So I pick a lot of them up. Now, I'm not going to do many of the ones that you might see me do in a game on this channel because I'll probably get canceled. Because what was okay in the 80s and 90s is probably not okay now. But I work in retail, would turn into I sold TVs for a while in a department store, Stern's department store. And I would turn into a bit of a chameleon when I'd hear an accent. I would hear it, and if I didn't really concentrate, I could slip into it.
I've done that. I've done that a lot.
And I slipped into that with a customer from England who was looking to buy some TV set, and I didn't even realize that I. And I mean, I'm not going to try it now, but I apparently mirrored him so well. He's like, "Are you from London?" I'm like, "Oh shit." So, and folks, this is what I learned early on. If you ever get caught for something that is going to be attributed to your background, always blame your mother, because your last name has nothing to do with it. Then, right?
I did it. I did it in high school. I was working on a homecoming float with the rest of the theater department, and we were working at this one guy's house, and his mother came out to give us drinks and stuff. And apparently, he was born in California, but his mother came from the deep South. And like 5 minutes into talking to her, I started talking like this too. You know.
Well, he's like, "Are you from London?" I'm like, "Oh," "Oh shit!" Like, no, but my mother is.
Oh,
yeah, we're in London.
Great save.
Fuck.
Near London.
I was like, I think that's. I believe that was in the East of London. He goes, "Oh, I knew I heard." I was like, "Holy shit!" How? Probably guessed where he lived. I was like, I made a great sale. Made a great sale.
Hey, nothing wrong with that.
But then I slipped into a Yiddish one time, not realizing it was because there was a Yiddish woman in the department store that was talking like this, and I talked like this, and then I hear, "Are you mocking me?" I'm like, "Holy fuck!" I was just, and being a New Yorker, I had the answer. No, but I always hear this at home on the high holy days.
But mother mocks people. Yeah.
But your name is not. Oh well, my mother's side of the family is Jewish from Williamsburg. All I needed to say, I got my cheeks pinched, and what a lovely young man. And then I really learned I had to watch my accents. Now the one I never, as a cop, I really didn't get a chance to use it, but I wanted to do one on St. Patty's Day. On St. Patty's Day, I wanted to be able to go over the radio and go, "Oh, 2 Charlie Central, 2 Charlie. Show me nipping out to the pub for a wee bit of food. I'll advise you when I'm back on patrol." And Sergeant,
I watched The Commitment so I could nail an Irish accent that wasn't a stereotypical Irish accent, because I can do both now.
Jokey Star. So
I have a friend out here from New York City, and he says he hates the stereotypical Irish accent. He always calls it I'm gonna go F a potato.
Well, it was the leprechaun accent there when you're doing that one.
Yeah, basically.
And I had an Irish pub in the South Bronx, right by 3 blocks from my precinct, and I'd go there for it was after work adult beverages, and I'd walk in and Bernie was she was the half owner. She owned half. Her husband owned the other half. He was He was Polish, but he was a German Pole, and she was Irish. And I slipped into an Irish again. I did the Irish. She's like, "Eric, I hate your fucking leprechaun bullshit accent. If you're gonna do an Irish accent, if you're gonna do a fucking brogue, fucking do it right or get out of my fucking pub." I'm like, "I'm sorry, Bernie." She's like, "Well, no, don't get out of my pub. You're a good customer, but just cut the shite." I'm like, "Okay, I didn't mean it." It just
James asked, "Do you roll stats, take a standard array, or some sort of point build?" I've done all.
I do a mix.
At least once. I prefer rolling them.
Right.
I used to do point build when I was long time ago when I was in the RPGA during 3rd edition.
Right.
And standard array, I tried it once when we were playing a 5e game, and it's okay. So I still rather roll them.
I like to do roll 4, keep 3, and then after those numbers, drop them where you want them. And then
exactly. That's the way I do it.
That's how I do it.
Yeah, that's the way I do it. I've been taught. I was taught that first. I still do it.
Yeah. Again, players got to be enjoying the creation part, or else it's not working.
What I hated in the point build for the RPGA, they gave you like 36 points or something like that, and I lost a lot of points because everybody's stats started at, I believe, 8.
Oh,
and you add points to that, and it's like, oh, come on, can't we start at 10? Because 8 automatically I get a -1.
well, you're
Right,
under.
That's the whole thing.
Well,
And I'm losing
like,
like what 12 points. I'm losing 12 points to get up to 0.
Now, another thing I wanted to mention is that I think is critically important at the lower levels, and this is something I think I focus on in my games, is characters order, marching order, entrance order, sitting order, tavern order, wherever they are. I want to know where everybody is.
Shitting order, yeah.
And I want to know what everybody's doing. Everybody doesn't walk through the dungeon armed to the teeth and ready to go. They're just walking sometimes. Sometimes they got their swords in their scabbard. Sometimes the pike is on their back. Everything always isn't always ready to go. And I always like to use those points when action occurs.
That's fair enough. I mean,
yeah, I don't mind.
And when everybody was like to use miniatures, like when I use a VTT, it is what I consider like at best theater of the mind enhanced, because my problem with my players at a table, virtual or face to face, is always the mapping, and it's because we are not trained. There's to describe a room when a player walks into it. I still, after 40 years plus of gaming, am not good at describing the dimensions of a room from the perspective of where you're walking into. So what I like about Roll20 is I can do Fog of War. I can have the map out, hide it all, and then just reveal the bits that the players in. I don't even use
Fog of War.
I don't even use tokens. I make them take a digital pointer and point on the screen. Where are you going? What are you doing? Because once you start putting tokens on the board, it's no longer in your mind. It's visually on the screen, and it takes away from the mind's.
Well, you could say that, but you could say the same thing about face to face when you plop a miniature down there.
Yeah, but not quite, because there's something about it being digital that makes your mind say, "Oh, this is a computer game." Like my son, I used to play Fantasy Grounds 2 as an early Fantasy Grounds, the first edition of it. And he'd be like, "What are you playing?" I'm like, "I'm playing Castles of Crusades." It's like, well, that's not graphical enough, because he's looking at it as a computer RPG.
Yeah,
and we're looking at it as
in here
for role playing. Even miniatures on a table. Although I invested in money in Dwarven Forge, I've never used it and probably never will, because I realize it distracts. Having run 3-dimensional games at conventions for Frog God, the 3-dimensional looks great at a convention. People come by, they look at it. You get gawkers. It is awesome if you're looking to get eyes on, but for actual gameplay, it sucks shit. So
I disagree. I actually, so Glen's a token guy. You sound to be like a theater of the mind VT guy. That's fine.
I theater of mind as long as I can get away with it, but other than that, tokens, you're right. Go ahead.
And I consider myself a miniature or tiles and walls 3-dimensional. I love to do it when I have the time.
Mm-hmm.
Of late, I've mostly been doing theater of the mind because of time. But I do love when I have the ability, perhaps mostly in the summer when I have extra time, that I love to lay out things and work from there with it and have them opening an actual physical door and the wall and everything. I do love it.
Well, the problem with our setup was you had to have the whole table set up. So you basically have the whole map is in front and they're moving through it. So the only way I could run level 4 The Mouth of Doom effectively with a group like that was pacing. Everything had to be paced quickly. You could not give the players a lot of choices or time to make a choice, because if they had time to make a choice, they would metagame. So I had to keep them constantly engaged, constantly moving. It was exhausting. It played out well.
Right.
Don't get me wrong. but it was exhausting. But I'd rather, again, the Fog of War, reveal a map as the players are seeing it. It's better than me trying to tell them, all right, you enter a 20 by 20 room. You come in from the south side. You're coming in not quite from the center of the room. You're off to the right a little bit. Now there's a door midway. Well, hold on. Well, how tall? Like, is this east, west, north, south? It's like, oh, just fuck it. Give me the map.
No, it does get confusing, but
I've been there.
Dimensions on my games, and I will also say that I have a tendency to prescribe square and rectangular and heart-shaped rooms. Forget caves and caverns with rounded edges, because how the hell you describe a rounded edge?
Oh.
It's impossible. But at the end of the day, I think, Eric, I'm glad you admitted it to everybody online that basically, in those situations, you railroad your players and you're proud of it. That's great.
Oh, not railroading them. Never said I was railroading them.
I'm joking.
I know. I just said that I listen. Players like a lot of time. They'll take all the time in the world to make a decision, and
they will.
If you give them a full map of a level, they're going to go, we are here. That item, that room looks really interesting. How are we going to get there? You want it to be more organic. So in other words, you got to keep them moving. You got to keep the action going. You got to keep rolling for random encounters. And I have found that worked well, but it was exhausting.
Well, let me tell you, in the early, that resonates with me. Our gaming group in the early days when we were running on Saturdays with Matt running it, I think Labyrinth Lord or RC or something, he would present us with something and we'd take 10 minutes. And finally he'd have to say, guys, you're overthinking it.
Yep.
I mean, we would overthink everything.
Or you get the players where every entrance, every door, they think there is a death action right behind it. No, guys.
That's right.
You can't be like, just tapping your foot, putting your toe in the water thing. You got to actually just run through it a little bit. I'm not going to slow you up every which way with traps every 10 feet.
No, I find as a DM, overabundance of traps is annoying to me as a DM. They're spice. Traps are a spice. Sparingly, it's effective.
Agreed.
It becomes, oh, geez, look, the floor is slanted. I already know what's going on. Right, you got your marbles. Roll your marbles. Yeah, let's see which way it's slanted. And it's like, oh, fuck. Good question,
James, do you have any favorite third-party resource? How does it fit in your gaming? Are we talking about gaming or prep?
Could be either one or both. I've got 3 things.
Because I've plenty of prep stuff I could use that are my favorites. Tome of Adventure Design.
Who wants to
Ready Ref Sheets. The ICRPG, you can yank stuff out of that. Barrow Maze with his barrow construction thing in the back.
Great for
Return of the Lazy Dungeon Master. You name it, I got it. But those are some of my favorites, especially Tome of Adventure Design. I love Tome of Adventure.
I also like to mix it up. I like to sometimes buy other games, monster manuals, and then manipulate them into good stats, capability for our game. I like to occasionally do that, although I am tried and true original Monster Manual, Fiend Folio, Monster Manual 2. That's 95% of what you're going to see in my games. And, everybody remembers these things. So it's interesting when they come across it like that.
So, all right. So I got a few things that I can mention. Tome of Adventure Design, if you're designing an adventure, you need hints or ideas. It's an awesome tool. I love it. D30 Sandbox.
Yes. Those two.
D20 Game Master's Companion, both from New Big Drag Games. Amazing stuff. Great resources. Use in-game game prep. They are spot on.
Yeah. D30s.
I literally just got in the mail like yesterday.
Ooh.
By who again?
This is by Raging Swan. Raging Swan,
you listening? I could use a copy for review.
I just opened up a chart. Looting a dead cleric.
Oh,
Unholy water vials.
I need that.
Looting a dead thief.
And that's
Oh,
another thing.
man.
Let me ask you.
Yes.
I like occasionally throwing in secondary parties on their own mission and own action coming across the group. And how does that interact with your group? And what do they do or not do? Do they decide to try to team up? Do they decide to try to attack each other? Do they decide to
rival
from each other? It's another nice facet in the game.
It is, but my one fear with that always is if you equip the NPC party as well as the PCs are equipped, and the PCs do what the PCs like to do, which is kill everything and take their stuff, you've now doubled your PC's equipment of dangerous shit. Just my observation. And by the way, it's a good topic. I want to keep on this one. There's one more thing I want to throw out there.
Yeah.
For resources that I think are amazing. And actually, I have it in my backpack right now. I take it to every convention. Inkwell Designs has cards you can buy on drive-thru.
I got the dice.
The Dungeon Morph dice are nice, but the cards are better because the cards you can choose. They're encounter cards, the creature cards, and they have a lair. So say your PCs go off in a direction you didn't expect. You got no dungeon available ready. Shuffle the deck. Pull. I always say pull 2 cards. Pull 2. Look at which one speaks to you. Send everybody on a 5-minute smoke break or whatever they got to do. And I've done that already to have an adventure ready to go. That's good for an hour and a half. Maybe they're getting back on track to where they need to go. They don't need to know that I had to literally look at a card. And I mean, I did this with my group out in Long Island. I used to play out in a group in Long Island every other Thursday at a game store. Tim Connolly and a few other guys. And I didn't know I was going to be DMing that day. Our GM was like, I can take a break. So I was like, all right, Swords and Wizardry Light. I said, everybody, give me 10 minutes. And I took out the deck. I pulled 2 cards. And I looked at the one. I like that map. And I like that statue. And I already know what's going on here. Boom. I've got ourselves for the next couple of hours. That to me is a great resource. Inkwell Designs also does the hexographer mapping program. So if you want to do outdoor settings like a hex map, kind of like the old Greyhawk style, you can do that too.
A couple things here. This is the ICRPG Think Deck. If you want to go a little more like, kind of trigger things, you can draw these. He's even put out a PDF on how to use these. Mm-hmm. But here's another thing. Rory's story cubes.
Oh.
Those are great. There's all sorts of versions of them. This is the basic set. You roll them, you look at the pictures on the dice and go, okay, can I make something from this? Roll 4 dice and find out what you do.
So not necessarily a game item, but rather an idea item. Mm-hmm. I cannot tell you, when I was watching, I hear a lot of noise.
Glen and his drawers. Oh. Not those drawers. It's his. Never mind.
That sounded bad, Eric.
I know. That's why I said not those drawers. That made it sound even worse.
So, honestly, when I watched, and I really did enjoy Disney's The Mandalorian series.
Yep.
I love that.
I watched episode after episode after episode. And after it ended, I kept saying to myself, holy moly, that just struck me as a singular D&D session right there. They literally were one-track missions. Bam, the characters would go through unique adventures, unique creatures, unique actions. And over again, I said, damn, it's written like a D&D module. It's incredible. I just thought that it was just built along those lines. So I love to steal from movies. I love to steal from ideas like that or from books.
Oh, I do that all the time.
Yeah.
But you have to realize, like, even the Mandalorian stole from, what did the Mandalorian steal from? The sheriff. Remember the sheriff?
Yes.
Now, do you know where he was stolen from, right? Deadwood. He played the sheriff in Deadwood. Same actor. So they literally, I mean, for me, that was like, I was like, oh my God,
Right.
This is awesome. But he played pretty much a similar type of, sheriff.
It is a Star Wars spaghetti western.
Yes.
It was. It really
If you
was.
want to go further, it could be like a Kurosawa samurai thing.
Yes.
If you want to go further.
Yes.
So it certainly played a lot of homage to different aspects of, I guess, I don't say nerddom, but I guess, nerddom,
Entertainment.
Yeah.
So I mean, and then maybe I could do full circle here and just say, I'm curious to see what Hasbro has up their sleeves with the movie. It looks interesting to date. It looks like they definitely roll back to some of the original items and creatures that we're familiar with from the early editions. And I'm really curious to see how they take it. But again, just like Eric said, he was swimming in paperwork trying to figure out what kind of feats his character could do. And I'm not built for that yet. I'm not built for that 5th edition action.
I'm not built for that at all, ever.
Well, and for what I'm hearing from people that are actually reading the playtest material, I haven't been. I'm sorry. Forgive me. I did the D&D Next playtest, and that scarred me for life. It's like if D&D 5 or 5th edition,
right,
is your characters at name level or equivalent. Once you reach like 9th or 10th level, you've cranked your amp to 10. 1 D&D is doing Spinal Tap. You're
11.
You're not going to 11 at least. You're going to scratch it in, and because apparently they're moving up a lot of the more powerful feats to earlier levels, so you can enjoy them sooner. Whatever floats the boat. It might make for more initial players, and it might make for more players that are going to want to find a different kind of game balance later on. Might be good for old school gaming. We'll see.
Yeah, I don't mind that at all.
I'm going to review Dread. Again, James, I'm going to pick it up. Yes, I'm going to review Dread. I bought it.
I would if I
bought it with my own hard-earned cash. I said it.
You did.
I bought it with the community's hard-earned cash. Your affiliate monies allow me to do an honest-to-God review on this. Now, I've had Raging Swan releases much smaller than this in the past. Their system-neutral stuff, their setting material. It is spot-on, well-written, drop-in material that doesn't unbalance campaigns, fits right in. I'm assuming Dread is more of that. It's just so much. I always dread opening this thing up, but I will probably do what I just did during the show and go to random pages initially, and instead of trying to read it from
what I do.
Back. But
that's not the kind of you read straight through.
But it really, I was packing the car this morning to come up here to the Poconos. Noticed the door behind me. Yes, I got outdoors behind me as opposed to city traffic.
Free air.
But I was like, and this is sitting on the stairs going up to our second floor. And I'm like, you know what? I have other stuff I can read. I've got the latest from the Barshes, their solo adventure from the Kickstarter. I picked it up at ShireCon. I'm like, I could play through a nice long solo adventure. I go, no, I think I'm gonna read some Dread. So if things go well, and here, just to put this in perspective, it's a big effing book. Nearly 500
I'm drooling
pages.
now.
It's nearly 500 pages. So don't expect a review within a week. How about that?
Okay.
So, so how much did that put you back?
It put the community back. No, it was like I think that actually was $45.
That's not bad considering the size.
No, it's not bad.
No,
I mean, second edition Hyperborea was 70, and it's about 600 pages. So yeah.
So no, this looks like it's going to be a good read. Because listen, books like this, I'll be honest with you. Even the ones with good tables, I tend not to roll dice on, like, unless I'm doing it as an experiment. If I'm going to be like, hey, I'm using a tome of adventure design and writing an adventure for my blog, yes, I'll roll dice on the tables. But if I'm using it as a resource for myself, I go through and I go, ooh, Oh, that speaks to me. That speaks to me. That it's not. It might be my random eyes moving around, but it's not random dice usually.
Well, you know what I think? I think I could see Eric coming into the game in the near future as a star NPC.
Oh, I could do that.
I know you could. I may even challenge you with two different personalities because they're two different heads on the end. But I think you could do it.
I'll channel my inner Glen.
Huh?
Rach is on the other side of the house and she's laughing. My inner Glen, Rach, why not?
I think I'd pay to see that. Yeah. That would be
because Glen is the actor. I'm just a guy that does funny voices. So if I can channel my inner Glen, I can be more than just two-dimensional. I can actually, be believable. Thank you, Rach. Thank you.
By the way, Dread's PDF on their website is $27.95.
Is it? Wow.
Yeah. That's why I figured I might as well get the print plus PDF. I wasn't.
Where did you get it off their website?
No, the print is no longer there.
Well, it offers. It said this is a digital product.
Really? Maybe there's a problem with the print version. I got it off of drive-through with my drive-through monies.
Oh, well, I'm going to have to look at a drive-through then, I guess.
Yeah,
you're right. You're right, Wizard Tower.
What did Don say?
And so let me also say I have goals in the future. I'd like to have both of you guys in a game. I'd like to try running for my first time. I'd like to run you guys in a Delta Green game. I got the books.
I haven't done Call Cthulhu in ages.
Well, I would do it with a tilt, obviously, because it's Delta Green. But I'm intrigued by that whole genre, and I really would love to see you guys in
it. That would be a lot of fun. I've always wanted. I had Delta Green back when it was a supplement for Call of Cthulhu.
So I got some books. I got some modules. I'd love to do something like that once. I really would. I find it intriguing. I played one version of it at North Texas, and I loved it. It was just really interesting. And I found you're out of control in these things. You don't have a lot of control over anything.
So soft cover is $45.60. Hardcover is $49.
Yeah, but it's on sale right now, though.
Well, yeah, because you're getting the PDF with it. That's all.
But, 77. Usually I get the hard. I'd love to get the hardcover.
Hardcover for a few $100. I was like, I have to. So, and again, I've always liked the stuff from Raging Swan.
This is from Runehammer. I wanted the hardback, and I looked up the hardback, and I almost got it. But they wanted $30 for shipping. Where the hell is Runehammer shipping from? $30 for shipping, and that's just regular shipping. About 5-7 days.
So I
didn't understand.
Something that I thought was interesting. I actually looked. I'm going to Comic-Con on Sunday in New York.
Right.
And one exhibitor is selling character coins. So what they are, I guess, essentially are metal coins with imprints of certain characteristics or something like that.
It's kind of like a challenge coin. Okay.
Yeah, but I didn't want anything like that. I actually was more intrigued with, I would love to get like some inexpensive gold, silver, platinum, copper, just small little coins that they can interact with when they're playing the players. I think that would be really nice, like feel to the game. Just having some tactile feeling playing.
James Seymour's got you're right up my alley. How about a red-green game? I'd love that.
No.
What you would do, I don't know. Well, it's like that Monty Python game coming out.
I'm not familiar with red-green.
It was a Canadian comedy show, half-hour comedy show, ran for what, like 25 years?
Did it?
It is absolutely hilarious. I love that show.
I like Second City.
Exactly. That's the same thing. That's
I like
comedians.
Yeah.
Kenny.
I like Second City also.
What was it called? Kenny what?
Sorry, I don't have an answer for that.
Somebody called my my ALEXA. I don't want to say the name.
Oh.
Oh God,
Yeah.
yes.
Yeah.
I don't have that up here in the Poconos, so I don't have to worry about anything going.
Yeah. Anyway, well, that's good. That's good.
Up there.
No, we don't. Listen, I have to use my phone's hotspot to do a live stream. The DSL that phone company supplies.
Horrible.
Oh my God. It'll take like 2 hours to upload a video after I record it. But the upload speed is so
Lord.
slow.
Gotcha.
I thought my YouTube. Man doesn't find you handsome. At least you should find you handy, right?
Got to be something or other. There you go. You called it, Glenn. You called it. You knew
That's
the
right. I watch. Oh, I've got like a set of 6 DVDs. I've got like 27 episodes of that. It's a lot of fun. Oh boy.
Yes, Glenn. Have we gotten to the point where we can't top the Comic-Con?
Yeah, it's hard to top the Comic-Con. It's hard to top. It's hard to top a hill. But boom.
Oh.
So you guys, I guess we should wrap it up. Huh?
We could. On the condition that Jason comes back at some point.
Well, I again, only if Eric promises to jump in the game sooner than later. And Glen,
give me a good NPC, man, to break my to get my feet.
Saturdays are hard. Saturdays are hard for him.
Are they?
Oh, well, I could have Gamers Health on Saturday nights. I do
Friday too, then possibly. But
Friday I have the live streams like this.
Oh boy, you're a challenge.
Yes, I'm a media icon. I don't believe it myself, but it could be.
But he's also retired.
Right, so I got like days or afternoonish are easier than
or weekdays or weeknights or something.
Yeah. Well, Wednesday night through Saturday nights are all generally buggered, except for the 5th Friday of every 3rd month, which would mean that I guess in December we'll come. Honest to God, that's because there's no live stream. I have Glen every other Friday, and then I have the my miscreants from my regular gaming group on the other Friday. So we do a tag team. It's like, all right, Glenn, you're tagging off to Joe the lawyer and the rest. Joe, you're tagging off to Glenn.
So he asked you to come back on the show. That means he likes you.
Well,
I asked you to come back, Glenn. I mean,
I feel like a Monty Python skit, and that can we survive the interaction with the rabbit? That's all I want.
Of course.
Bring out your dad. Not dead yet. You will be. Shut up.
I gotta tell you that those just great.
That's one cliche of a gamer is they always do Monty Python quotes. But you know what? After 20 years, 30 years, 40 years of playing this game, the new people who are in the game, you do something like that, they go, what's that?
Well, our generation gets the Monty Python stuff. The new generation doesn't even get Hawk the Slayer.
You know what? I don't think they play it very often on any kind of syndicated television, really.
No,
right?
not anymore.
And it would be hard to go back and find these things. Like, look, you know what I came across, and I got into a little bit. I was watching Blake 7 a little bit, and I thought that was interesting.
That's a good series.
I love the concept.
Blake 7. I never watched the full stuff. I only
watched a little, and it's really intriguing. It really, really was.
I mean, you look at a lot of this stuff, and just as a total sidetrack before we wrap this up, the reason why we watch things like Doctor Who and Blackadder, right? And
Yeah,
Monty Python.
I grew up with, it was Tom, right? So I grew up with Tom as my Doctor Who. And
Me too.
Saturday mornings, that's what we watched as kids.
Right, because when you were a kid, you had most, it's going to be most metro areas, assuming you're in a metro area, you had the 3 major networks.
Yep.
In New York City, you also had 3 local channels.
And
then you had PBS.
We had 2 in LA.
I think
and PBS.
One was on 9, though, I think.
UHF.
11.
Remember UHF? That was so much fun.
In New York City, CBS was channel 2.
Really?
4 was NBC. 7 was ABC.
Right.
That's exactly the way LA is.
Okay. 5 was a local channel, which is now 5.
KTLA.
9 was WOR.
Another one.
That was a local channel. 11 was PIX.
Yep.
And then channel 13.
11 was KTTV, and their stage. KTTV in LA. They're a local station, but they used to rent out their studios and sound stages all the time. That's where Norman Lear filmed most of his stuff, starting with All in the Family.
Oh wow, that's pretty interesting. It's pretty cool.
Yeah.
But then you also had WNET, channel 13. These were your VHF channels. So you had a PBS channel on VHF.
KTLA.
Before you had cable, before you had the internet, before you had all these other options, before you had direct streaming, you were limited to what you could get over the air. And UHF channels were a lot hard to get over the air. So that was what you watched. And if you had a good show on PBS, you watched PBS. What? Nova, brought to you by Nova. It's like, that it's a different world, because now we have all these options, and all these options means a lot of things that were watched in the past get overlooked.
Yeah, I had to fight to watch my favorite shows that nobody else, and it was usually juggling around to PBS, reading the TV guide every week. It's like, when are they playing Monty Python?
Yeah.
Okay. That kind of thing.
Stay up late enough to watch Monty Python, like Saturday Night Live, That's
right. You're right. You're right, James.
All my favorite characters that SNL used to write up originally, but it was so hard to just stay up that late as a kid.
Oh yeah. I mean,
before VCRs.
That's right. We're talking about the days when the Cubbies didn't have lights in their stadium, and every Cubbies game in Chicago was played in the daytime.
Interesting, right?
Anyway, thank you, Eric, for that trivia bit before we leave.
There you go. Well, you have to leave with some kind of knowledge, right? We got to give you some kind of information.
The more you know.
The more you know, the less you'll care. How about
and knowing is half the battle.
Perhaps.
So my buddy just mentioned, one of our favorite shows growing up on SNL was Mr. Bill, and what would happen to Mr. Bill every episode.
Oh my God. Oh no, Mr. Bill.
Yes, I bought the Mr. Bill book as a kid, everything. I mean, I thought that was the greatest way of movie making ever.
Stop animation with Play-Doh.
Gumby.
I'm Gumby, damn it. See, these are all things from
the
best of SNL.
Yes.
The first couple of generations. Yes. Oh no, that is correct, Don. Oh my God.
Those are the things. And I can even think of a couple of my other players. Like, I have one player who's an excellent player. His name's Jimmy, but he's now flipped and changed where he prefers and wants to play 5th edition. Now, just like Erica said to me before, I'm fearful of running it because I don't know it well enough.
Right.
I'd love to run it if I could understand it, but I have to play it once or twice before I could run it once or twice.
Right. There's too many fiddly bits to 5e for me to ever comfortably run it. So I'm not interested in doing so.
Yeah. So I mean, again, I just thought I'd mention that as a
pet. My ability as I got older.
My original My original go-to right there.
What is it?
What is it,
It's a
Glenn?
rule cyclopedia in
Oh,
my
it's a-
denim bookcase.
Oh, I was about to say that didn't look like a cover that is familiar to me.
Yeah, that's a high school cover.
Hell, it is. It ain't newspaper or
College.
plastic.
Oh, and I just
paper
got
bags.
there.
I made this myself. I sewed it.
Mark's screaming that he loves second edition the best. He doesn't like first edition as much as second. And I would argue there are a lot of great points in second edition, but again, my familiarity is better with first.
Oh yeah.
Oh, by the way, Jason, how many of your players are watching us tonight, do you think?
I think a good chunk of them, because they're all texting me as I'm talking. And I'm like,
Okay.
the bubble, you guys, because I'm like, they're asking me questions. I'm like,
All these troublemakers over there.
We brought him on to grill him.
Yeah, so it's just one of those things where, like, I'm thinking to myself, well, I gotta mention these guys because they've been through thick and thin in all these games, and I haven't even stepped into the other piece of my RPGing, which is the Gamma world, really, Aftermath world, really, and Mara Project world. Those three games are the other ones that we played consistently as growing up, and epic scenarios in playing those games as well too. But when you have guns, it's a different ball game.
Oh, it changes the dynamic.
Challenging.
It certainly does. James, no barbecue sauce, no fava beans, none of that stuff. Come on.
$2. What the hell? I'd buy that for $1.
Wait, what are we talking about marinating? What? I'm lost here. What is
Before we were talking about cooking, and I think that they were. It was like with what? Like, is it marinated? Is it with barbecue sauce? No.
Well, Eric, when you and your wife come out to visit to play,
okay,
we'll do some heavy duty barbecue for you.
Oh, gee, this coming from the man who almost killed me with barbecue in Dallas in the most beautiful way possible.
Yes,
twice.
I told you I wanted to go.
I remember that.
It's not a complaint. Okay, this is not a complaint, but. Folks, you almost had a dead Tenkar because I almost ate myself to death. So,
well,
it is a rule now. Every time Jason comes out, we have to find a new barbecue place.
Yes.
Yep. So. Although we did Mexican this year.
Well, we did that too. I mean, along with barbecue.
Yes.
Yeah.
The barbecue was good too.
And that was pretty good Mexican.
What?
That was pretty good Mexican.
It was. I enjoyed both. It was nice. It was nice.
Half of North Texan to him is eating.
Well, look.
Everybody.
What do you do after TPK? You go out for barbecue. That's what you do.
There you go. I gotta deal with my stress. How you deal with your stress? Food. It always helps. Thank you.
Yes.
I keep waiting for them to do karaoke in the bar or something when we're there.
Well, no. I have to do with Stefan, and it's not karaoke. Trust me.
The other thing that I thought was really good at North Texas that we did was the whiskey tasting.
There'll be another tasting next year.
Oh, I'm looking forward to that. I really enjoyed that. Tasting blindly whiskeys and then writing down what we were experiencing. And it really was interesting. It really, really was.
Yeah, it's our second year of whiskey tasting, our third year of alcohol tasting. The first year was really, really bad nips. Oh, horrible.
This is why I dropped out.
Yeah. But it was a lot of fun, though. So
talk about light fire before you start to play a game. Yeah.
There you go. All right. So, folks, huge thank you to Jason. Jason.
Thank you, Jason.
I will dabble my feet into the waters out in Long Island.
Yes.
Play an NPC.
Treacherous, but you can swim. I know you can.
I know I can.
We'll put you in the deep end.
And if you want to play with,
I want my little wings. I want my little inflatable wings. Can I get my little inflatable wings?
And if you want both of us out there for a game, I'll expect my plane ticket in the mail next week.
Oh,
geez.
you know what? Eric and I will work on something. We'll figure something out.
Rum tasting. Can we do rum tasting at the con? I don't know.
No.
You got the liquor connection.
That's the only problem.
My liquor connection happens to like whiskey, so that's where that comes from.
Okay, I thought something different.
You know, control of the whiskey tasting. I just hosted
something different. You know. Anyway,
we'll just get you 17 different types of Fireball whiskeys, and you'll be fine.
There you go. Go ahead and do the spiel.
Do the spiel. I shall do the spiel, folks. Thank you, all of you in the live stream. You guys are nice and active. You kept asking good questions. Hopefully, we have some good answers.
Thank you, guys. Yeah,
I don't know if you
great.
did. I mean, I know somebody did. I don't know if I did. How about that? Other than that, not going to go into details, but there will be likely a GoFundMe in the next week or two. If you've been following along, you'll know why. We'll deal with that later. I'm not your father. In the world of COVID, which is no longer what it was, it's now endemic. Use your common sense. That's all I'm going to tell you. Be safe, be well. God bless. Roll those dice. Roll them well.
Say good night, Jason.
Say good night, Jason.
Roll or die, please. Thank you.
Oh, good night, folks. At Raging Swan.
Yeah. He's looking at he's looking at you one of those directions.
Good night,
folks.
Bye.